What's up, y'all? I am, after almost a week, I'm back to doing some sort of videos, man. I've been sick, if you haven't heard. I'm getting on the other side of this illness. I'm not 100% yet, but there's so much to discuss, and I'm at least good enough to where, we can discuss them. Let's first start with AlphaCore. You guys have finally started getting your books this week. This is why it's unfortunate that, I'm sick. I'm seeing everybody post. I want to be more interactive, but haven't had the chance to be that. However, we're at almost 1.115 in total sales right now. That's million in total sales. Over 11,000 total purchases. You guys know that, and over 19,000 total books sold. I want to thank every single one of you, like I always do. We're seeing the early reviews coming out. We know you guys love it. We knew you guys were going to enjoy Joe Bennett's art. It's incredible, and to say the least. And of course, it's Chuck Dixon. He told a great story. We won't start doing spoiler talk until after the campaign ends. You can do that on your own channels and all that, of course. But we won't personally, and I won't, the team won't do the spoiler talk until after the campaign has officially closed. But you guys starting to get your books. Please keep talking about it amongst the fandom. Join the fandom if you have not already. It's a great time to get in. We got some great bundles for you if you are just now entering into the Rippaverse. Now, with that being said, there's some questions that I would get asked during streams, how the sales stack up in comparison to the others. I want to be clear, guys. You got to understand, man. It's not as difficult to compete with the quote unquote mainstream in the graphic novel industry that you think. They don't push the numbers that I think a lot of people believe that they do. I think people think just because it's being visible, it means that people are actually buying that stuff, and that's just not how it works. They can be competed with, and we did with ISOM 1. We actually destroyed them in ISOM 1 and ISOM 2. The same can be said. But we got some questions about AlphaCore. How does that stack up in comparison to the field, if you will? If you go to NPD, well, it's not NPD anymore. It's now Circana, and the point of sales numbers, ICV2 does keep up with those. You can also go view them yourself. I got them here in the tab. According to Circana, you got the top 20 author-graphic novels. If you look at them, The Mysteries is over 12,000. So if we were part of that, and the reason why they would consider AlphaCore a graphic novel is because of course, its size, a spine, and the fact that it has a, ISBN. That's just how they do those numbers. So they wouldn't classify it as a floppy because it's not. So it would be first on that chart. Looking at this here, this is the superhero graphic novels. It'd be first on this as well. And even if we threw it in, looking at this, with the mangas, which is really the competition in the graphic novel space, this is, of course, the American sales or North American sales here, we would be sitting right at third actually would be where AlphaCore #1 would sit. One Piece would be first. Jujutsu Kaisen would be volume 21 would be second, and then it would be AlphaCore #1. So that is those are the numbers comparatively speaking for those of you that are curious. This has been an insanely successful campaign here, and it's still got well over a month left. So that number is going to keep ticking up and up and up, and we appreciate you guys' support there. Now I don't want to say elephant in the room. I know everybody has already talked about this, but I'll finally get around to it. So there was this comic book shop owner who was documenting his experience. You guys have seen it. His name's Glenn O'Leary, and he was talking about how, people don't want this, where what he's saying is these writers are writing themselves, if you will, instead of the characters. Ironically, he mentioned Miles Morales, which is hilarious. But put that aside, that was the point that he was bringing up, that basically the characters are becoming the writers instead of being them, and that's why people aren't buying into it, give or take. That was some of what he was saying. Of course, you had many people that are part of the industry that had something to say about it. They were ragging on him. They were upset. Even Donny Cates was talking about it, had all these issues with it. And look, the industry is in the spot that it's in. And I guess if we acknowledge the sort of elephant in the room, it's that all of them have participated in it. Okay? And let's go back to me here. And I think that's the part that we get lost in, because we could talk all day about the problems. How do we fix it? And I think that some people are tricking themselves into believing that there's just going to be this one change and then the industry is going to be fixed. It's not going to work that way. And I think if we are going to move in a positive, the industry itself is going to move in a positive direction, we have to be honest with it's why it's so fragile economically in the way that it is. And we have to address it. Okay. I get it. If it moves in a different direction, there's some folks that aren't going to make it on the other side because they've been propped up by these mega corporate entities. People seem to forget that these companies have traded hands over the last decades. And I did a video actually breaking all that stuff down, even as people lie and say that comics are booming. Had it not been for the mega corporate entities that they are tied to, they would have long went under again, like Marvel almost did in the 90s. Okay. But here's the thing. When I say everybody's kind of participated in it, it's like you had this sort of what they deem as this direct market setup, and you have the publisher going to the distributor who's going to the comic book shops, and that's really how the entire industry, even the indies, have gone through that. Now we're starting to see a big breakup in that, right? We know that Diamond is no longer they have a complete stranglehold on the industry. Not anymore. You got now the Penguin Random Houses of the world, as well as Lunar, that's in the mix as far as the big two. Okay. But still, the process is largely the same. I don't think that's a sustainable practice. And look, we know that comic book shops are closing down left to right. I don't know if a lot of them are going to make it out on the other side, because though the enthusiasm has been going down, you're seeing comic shops start to close down as well. But it's not like the industry itself is adjusting and gravitating towards what actually works. I think that's because it would come with accepting some things that they don't want. If the industry wanted to thrive, they would be highlighting these sort of independents that they don't go through the traditional models that everybody else goes through, but they can highlight that because maybe there is something that people, especially independent business owners, can take from that, develop it, maybe make it unique to themselves and grow. But it's all politics, if you will. And I'm speaking about that like it's all pay for play, it's favors and all that. Really what people still want is they want to see the big dogs in the Marvel and in DC doing well, and that's what they deem as the industry doing well. Well, that's not what I believe. I believe that they don't really control as much as what we thought. Yes, do they make up, as if you're looking at it from a market share perspective? Absolutely. Marvel and DC are going to dominate that, and they have for a very long time, and often it's due to sheer volume. But that's not necessarily an example of what's good. I mean, everybody has the complaints economically with the creatives not getting paid and all this sort of stuff. There's actually these conversations happening with Ditko and all that. I'll maybe cover that in a different video. But we can't deny the economic problems that the industry actually faces. Okay. So I want people to get away from this illusion that it's going to be fixed by, hey, these guys come in, just change a couple of stories and we're going to be back at the top. And I think there's still some people clinging to that. Those days are over, because even if they were going through those, let's say if they did adjust, I think they're in so bad favor with the audience that it's not going to matter. But let's say that they did bring enough bring a decent amount of people back. I don't still think that that's going to be enough to just completely change the industry for the better, because it's in a very, 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 very bad spot. So I think a lot of people are tricking themselves, and I think you have to admit a couple of different things. One, they do have a content problem. It's not necessarily a genre problem. It's a content issue. They have a content problem within comics. They can't get any sort of enthusiasm. So that's there 100%. But there's also core economic structural issues that they will refuse to address, that have to, if you're going to make it on the other side. But the people that are correcting those problems, as I've said, they're not coming from the mainstream. A lot of this stuff is smoke and mirrors, man. I've been telling y'all this for a very long time. For example, I just showed y'all the numbers of what you wouldn't think it. What Alpha Core is doing in comparison to what these other guys are doing, you saw the chart yourself. with the superhero graphic novel, which is what they would consider it as, it doesn't matter whether you go trades or original graphic novels, we're right there. We're absolutely right there. So I'm going to go back there real quick and just to show y'all. And when I say we're right there, I mean we're on the top of the damn list. It's not even, it wouldn't even be close. The top of the list right now for this month, for the past month of November, was almost 12,000. That's it. Now, would you believe that if you looked at the comic media that actually, tries to parade themselves around as they're legitimate and they cover outside of Bound in the comics? No, you wouldn't. But that's what I'm telling you, that it's all a lie. And it's been that way for a minute. We got to get out of this line of thinking that it's going to be like the olden days, and it's really not. Maybe as far as enthusiasm, I believe that can happen. But as far as the how comics are being distributed and from publisher to customer, I don't think it's going to be going down the way that it has gone. If it's going to thrive, it's going to have to go through its fundamental changes, unless they're just going to continue, and it's still going to have problems. It's going to especially have problems. Continue to suck on the teat of the mega corporate entity parent company that is able to subsidize them and their bad behavior as they fail. Because I'm not at all convinced that they're making money like that with their publication, off merch and all that other stuff, perhaps, but not all publications though. So we'll see what happens, guys. I'm going to get out of here. I'm sorry. I know I've been ranting and rambling, but, I got a lot to get on my chest because it's been a week almost. Thank y'all for the support for Alpha Core. We appreciate you. Go get it if you have not already. And to the idiots going after this comic book shop owner for just, he's in the trenches. He's the one that's boots to the ground. He's letting people being honest. Most comic book shops ain't honest with themselves at all. And he's at least shedding some sort of light, and they getting mad at it because they don't want to accept that maybe their ideological enemies that have been pointing this stuff out for the longest were right. And if you don't think that they would ruin the industry in its entirety before they admit that they were incorrect and we were right, you're crazy. They will absolutely burn this bad boy into the ground and continue to execute ridiculous plans that have shown to not work.
Alpha Core #1's pre-order is live. Written by the legendary Chuck Dixon and penciled by Joe Bennett. Visit Rippaverse.com to grab a copy and any of the merchandise items. Be sure to also check out the animated trailer for the campaign, which is the latest project from Rippaverse Studios. Y'all be easy.